You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. All right, folks, tonight, 6 Democratic presidential hopefuls take the stage in Des Moines, Iowa for the last debate before the Iowa caucuses. So, Vice President Joe Biden, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Bernie Sanders, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, Senator Amy Klobuchar, as well as billionaire Tom Steyer. Now, obviously, you don't see Senator Cory Booker there because yesterday he suspended his campaign. Andrew Yang also did not qualify for the debate stage. And then there's still other people who are in the race. Of course, Senator Michael Bennet, who was endorsed by James Carville. Now y'all ain't realize he's still even running. But he is. And then there's several other people as well. But one of the folks, former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick, released a statement today talking about tonight's debate. And check this out. He tweeted, tonight, 6 candidates will take the debate stage, all remarkable public servants. Yet tonight, America will not see herself in full. The racial and ethnic diversity of the Democratic field and our willingness to speak directly to issues of racism has made me proud to be a Democrat and an American. But the debates have stopped either showcasing the field or representing the nation. Instead of helping Democrats to choose our most compelling nominee from a range of diverse talent, the debates have become an end in themselves, an episode of reality TV with candidates paying more attention to polling numbers and donations than issues and people. The candidates in the debate tonight, many of whom are friends, have each overcome struggles of their own. Each believes this is the most consequential election of a generation, and yet no one on that stage knows what it's like to fear for their own safety when pulled over for a routine traffic stop. No one on that stage has ever been questioned about their citizenship or if they're a real American or being followed by store security when shopping. No one has ever asked themselves whether a rejection for a job or an apartment or a loan was because of their race, though millions of Americans still do. Racism is the most consequential, unfinished business of America. An election without those issues addressed by all the candidates is not consequential enough. There was always going to be a winnowing down of the field. Sadly, 3 of the 4 candidates who have most recently left the race have been candidates of color. It concerns me that not being on the debate stage has contributed to that. Surely the leadership of the Democratic Party must now see the criteria chosen have not served to demonstrate to Democratic voters or to the nation the breadth and depth of diverse talent in the field, and must reconsider the criteria for participating in as well as the format for future debates. The remaining candidates seeking the Democratic nomination for president, and in particular those who have the privilege of being on the debate stage tonight, must keep the issues facing people of color in the forefront as we address the future of our country. Racism, environmental justice, economic opportunity, gun safety, health disparities, and mass incarceration cannot be issues reserved for politically comfortable places. We cannot win in November without voters of color, nor should we. More importantly, America cannot win without fully and fairly addressing the unfinished business of race. All right, so he's taking issue with the debate criteria. Now, let's deal with this, Mustafa. You never had it before, damn near 30 folks running. Mm-hmm. You couldn't have 3 debates of 10, 10, 10. Mm-hmm. You had to have some sort of process. So they said it was a combination of polling, a combination of donors from all 50 states. They put this whole together. So is the complaint really with the process, or is it with the candidates?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it's a number of things. I think it is the process to a degree because we still haven't fully embraced campaign finance reform and addressed the disparity that exists in that space. There are probably some structural issues that the DNC and others need to work on and evolve with a country that is evolving. But we also have to ask the question, have we already checked the box on race? When we elected President Barack Obama, and in the back of people's minds, are they saying, I'm not sure if a person of color can actually win? So, that racism can still actually exist. Here's what I say. It's going to be a very pale affair tonight in a country full of color. And if we don't address that, there's going to be a lot of folks who feel that whomever the candidate is that is selected doesn't represent where they come from, who they are, what they look like, their sets of experiences, and we've got to make sure that people are excited about voting. It can't just be that folks are against Donald Trump. You got to give people something to vote for, and they need to know that when you're talking about it, you actually feel what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. I think that you're exactly right. But as a former candidate, I can tell you about the tautology, which is sort of the thing that circles in on itself, of momentum in politics. And a problem with the current situation is that Iowa and New Hampshire are the first two states, and they have this wildly outsized say in what is momentum, because you have to have a strong showing in those first two states in order to be competitive. And the donors give to the candidates that they think will do well in Iowa and New Hampshire. Otherwise, their investment is squandered. And we've picked two states that are important, but that aren't representative of the diversity of our party. And so what you have is very engaged and hyper-saturated Iowan Democratic caucus goers who are trying to decide over a course of many different candidates. And I will not say that those people are all racist or anything like that, because we have Barack Obama in our rearview mirror because of those very Iowa caucus goers. We wouldn't have had a black president if white Iowans didn't fall in love with Barack Obama. So I'm not saying it's just some easy answer there. But what I will say is that debates and primaries are not just showcases of people who think they should be the president of the United States. That it is not. Everybody who's running for president thinks they should be a general, but only 4 or 5 of them have actually generated an army behind them. Right? Now, some of that, like I said, is tautological. Some of it is how the polls and how a very white media telegraphs to the population who is leading and who is competitive and who is electable. Some of it is that. But let's also be honest. You know, Joe Biden has had the lock on support in the African-American community, and Kamala couldn't wrest that from him. Corey didn't wrest that from him. Deval hasn't proven that he can wrest that from them. And so we can't look at a white candidate like Joe Biden and not acknowledge that he is offering something to the black voters that they're responding.
But the problem here, though, is that all of that still is based upon polls, and not a single vote has been cast.
Right.
Well, yes. And can I just add something real quick? And again, Roland, you're much more of an expert than I am in this area. But I was having a conversation with somebody, and I was like, well, why don't we have polls that carry the same amount of weight that's coming from media of color? Why don't we have that to balance out?
Because it's easy, very simple. Because
they don't
first of all, let's just be real clear. The only we talk about media of color. You have Univision and Telemundo. Telemundo is actually owned by NBC.
Right.
So Univision is owned separately. They have the resources. The reality is, black media does not have the resources to do these polls. These polls cost anywhere from $30,000 to $100,000. Again, the problem, though, still with this, is that when you base all of this solely on polling data, now I still, though, believe that, and I have no issue on the Democratic side with them saying how many donors you got to get. Because I think I do believe that is a function of your ability to be able to reach a cross-section of people. Just because you want to hop on a stage and talk, I'm sorry, if you don't have the ability, like for instance, all people talk about, and granted, attention gets it, but you got to be out there. But if you want to jump out there and run, you got to be out there talking to the people, connecting with people. If you say, look, we got to have 100,000 donors, and all you've done is find 10,000 donors, that's an indication of, frankly, you not catching on, with the general public. Now, what the Democrats did was they actually, as each debate continued, they increased in terms of the threshold in order for you to qualify. That was one of the criticisms there. See, I just personally believe the candidates are wasting. And look, I think everything Deval Patrick hit there is straight, but Deval Patrick is not on that stage because Deval Patrick got in 2 months ago.
Right.
So had Deval Patrick got in January and February, he would have been able to build his team. So it's sort of like you want to hop in November and then say, hey, 2 months later, why am I not on stage?
Neither's Mike Bloomberg, right?
Well, but he has the money, though. So, and then that's the other thing. And then you have Mike Bloomberg News. Like, what corner can you not turn and have some type of reference point?
Yeah, but look, he's got $54 billion. But
Right.
also, again, this is where I now granted, this is where I disagree with people on this process. Even though Tom Steyer, people accuse him of buying his way in, bottom line is he still had to work it. Mike Bloomberg has said, I ain't taking no money. Okay, so here's the other piece. Mike Bloomberg, you might have $54 billion, but you have not proven to me infrastructure, boots on the ground. Your polling is only because you dropped $100 million in ads.
Right.
You ain't been out there working it. Right. Michael Bloomberg has not been out there hitting the ground in Iowa and New Hampshire. He has not been hitting nearly every county in South Carolina. No, you basically want to fly like I'm sitting there hovering in space over everything. It's like, yo, let me in. Nah, bro. You bought your way in. And that's the whole point. That's part of the process. We should not have a situation where billionaires should be able to just buy themselves in.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But that, I mean, your point raises how remarkable what Pete Buttigieg has done really is. He's not my candidate. I see a lot of issues with him, but I also see some upsides with him. But more than anything, he is the only person on that stage who was starting at real zero in terms of national exposure, national visibility, or great wealth.
But he did get. But again, though, where he got help was
the media.
He got help by, let's just be clear, largely white men run political media.
Right.
He got elevated by those very people. Right. Let me just do a comparison. Let me just real clear. Wayne Messam.
Florida. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay, but wait.
No. Follow me here.
Yep.
No. Let's do a side-by-side comparison.
It's a point.
How large is the city that Wayne Messam is mayor in Florida?
Larger than South Bend.
Oh, but much. Oh, yeah. Miramar is huge. Yeah.
Much larger than South Bend.
Yes, much larger. It's like 20 South Bends.
Right. So, but when Wayne Messam announced,
crickets.
He's at the bottom on the right side of the screen.
Right.
All of the candidates that are running.
No, he wasn't even on the screen.
He wasn't on the screen.
I saw him like out of the 30.
He went on the screen.
Yes.
Now, it's still a function of also what do you put together?
Right.
In terms of do you actually put together a credible campaign? So you can announce, but are you actually putting together a campaign team? And so Buttigieg, also remember, Buttigieg got a lot of attention when he tried to run for DNC chair. That's also part of this. And so is all of these things combined with it. I just simply think in the case here, if you keep whining about the process, the bottom line is we've never seen a year like this where you had more than 20 people trying to run.
Right.
You just didn't. You never saw this. And so it's hard to say change the process. Well, dog, we never thought 20 damn people were going to sit here and run for president.
Right.
Yeah.
And I concur with that. I think the process, it is smart for the Democratic Party to try to whittle down the field because we learned from the GOP allowing 17 people to go into the actual early votes. And what happened was that everybody agreed they didn't like Trump, but nobody could agree on who they did like. And the 30 or 20% that liked Trump got him from state to state to state. And that's how the worst candidate emerged out of that primary. And I think the DNC said to itself, like, we don't want that process. We're going to whittle down that field so that once the voting happens, we're still talking about 5 or 6 viable candidates that, that have real constituencies. And I think that's actually a smart thing to do. But there can be tinkering, changing, updating, relooking at the criteria to make it more reflective of the demographics of our party. And I think I think in future years you're actually going to see that because, people like me are going to insist on it. People like Roland are going to insist on it. So that's
all right, folks. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.